I think design should be involved in every decision from the beginning to the end. But at the same time, the finances also need to align, which is why from the very beginning, the architect, the client, and the builder all need to be together. That is a team effort. It all ties together.
Welcome to Builders, Budgets, and Beers. I'm Reece Barnes, and I started this podcast to have real conversations about money in the building industry, the wins, the mistakes, and everything in between. I believe builders deserve to feel confident about their finances, and that starts by hearing from others who've been through it too. This industry can be slow to change, but the right stories and the right tools can make profitability feel possible. Let's get into it. Trap, mics are hot, baby. We're rolling.
Hey, how you been, man?
I've been doing good. Thanks for jumping on the show. Okay, so I always like to just give a little background. And honestly, for the listeners out there, if you're tired of that, like, okay, I always give a little background. Give me a DM on Instagram or something if you want me to switch it up. But Trapper, give the audience a little background on yourself, who you are, what you do, what you build, where you build, just some of the basics.
All right, cool. Well, my name's Trapper Roderick. I'm a fifth generation builder. Came from both my mom's side and my dad's side of the family. One was a big commercial contractor. The other was more small boutique. Just still did nice stuff, but more of a boutique shop. So I always knew I was going to be in the industry. Never knew when I was going to get into it because I wanted to do it my own way. So I studied architecture. Bad route for me to go. I was too much of a builder to be an architect. Still design homes a little bit, but nonetheless, ended up graduating from, didn't quite graduate. Still have 3 classes left, but
there you go. Okay.
Went to the University of Utah for like 11 years. The dean still thinks I'm a graduate. It's this whole ordeal, right? So I spent a lot of time at the University of Utah. It shaped me to who I am today. Started a few small companies while I was at the University of Utah. I helped kind of build out their entrepreneurship program.
Very cool.
When you met me, I mean, everybody was talking about my jackets, right? So like I was a haberdasher for 10 years. So I made some suits, shirts, overcoats, things like that. So not a lot of people that know that side of me think I'm a contractor. It's kind of funny, but I'm a contractor at heart.
An incredibly well-styled contractor. Design is coming through.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're going to talk a lot about today is design. Right?
Okay, great.
So yeah, I mean, and then, really, I kind of started doing some stuff for my dad off and on really in like 2012, whether it was some project management, whether it was some financials, contracts, marketing. And my dad was LA based and I was never going to go out there full time. And so I started my own thing.
Why were you never going to go out there?
I mean, there was always like, if I got a contract like LeBron James, right? Like I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. Right. But
sure.
LA is crazy. I love Utah. My family's been here since like the pioneers came across the plains. Right. So like, I am like the most Utah man you can possibly get. If you looked up like my family lineage and Utah's just growing so much. And I just see a lot of shit going on here, and I'm like, well, like, at least let me have a little bit of my stamp on it. Like, I want to make sure that it's still a beautiful place because it's kind of being overtaken by other parts of the country coming here. And, I want it to stay beautiful and I want it to stay the Utah that I grew up in.
Totally. Overtaken in what sense? Are you saying like design? Or overtaken in what sense?
Well, I mean, it's busier for starters.
Obviously more people.
A lot more people. Yeah. It's still a conservative state, but it's definitely not as conservative as what I grew up in, which is fine. I mean, I'm all about diversity, but I mean, you're just getting a lot. It's a melting pot, which is a good thing. Melting pot just because people want to come to Utah. Melting pot because of religion. I mean, all these different things. But yeah, it's just changing. It's busier. There's a lot more. You can't just like disappear, right? Like I used to be able to run in the back streams and rivers and just spend all day out there. And
totally.
And the designs, I mean, you're getting so much of the same, and it's because like you got a lot of big money in here. I mean, Utah. A lot of people think like, oh, that's a small market. No, yeah, it's small market from a population perspective, but from an economy, Utah's enormous. I mean, it crushes almost every state in the entire country, except for obviously the obvious ones, right?
That's insane. So, do you know the numbers? What are like in terms of like the economy? Like, what are the numbers on it?
We should look, but I would be foolish. I can state some other facts that would back those numbers up, though.
Yeah,
like if you've ever heard of Silicon Slopes,
Is that
so
Park City?
no, it would make sense if it was. But Silicon Slopes is like what divides Utah County, which is like BYU territory, and Salt Lake County, which is Utah territory.
Okay.
It's college football or college basketball. But it's like this big tech mecca that kind of replicates, Silicon Valley,
Of
and
course.
it's just a massive. You got Oracle there, you got Adobe there, you got like your Vivint. I mean, and some of the people that have been bidding on the last piece of land there, it's insane. It's like
Yeah,
the most coveted commercial land in the entire country. I would say we've got the best airport in the entire country, which still has another 7 years of development on it. You have the expansion of Deer Valley, which is another massive undertaking from a project, which
definitely.
is like, if you would like skiing, like there's not a better territory now when it comes to size and scale. I think they're bigger than Vail combined.
Nuts.
Pretty crazy. And the list goes on. We've got an inland port that just came to Utah. I mean, economy wise, we are massive.
Yeah. So I literally just looked it up. And I mean, and this is from the AI overview on Google. Um, but it says, here we go. Utah's economic data shows strong growth, with the state ranking first in GDP growth and having the lowest unemployment rate nationally in recent reports. Key metrics include a nominal GDP over 300 billion, a 6.1% growth in personal income, and a median household income that ranks highest in the US when adjusted for price parity.
Yeah, so pretty small.
Yeah, it's got room to grow.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah. No, that's nuts. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, like a ton of opportunity. It makes a ton of sense why you would want to stay in
Yeah,
Utah and
yeah,
leave the Roderick name on
yeah,
where
yeah,
your family came from.
yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, if you like commercial construction, my great great grandpa started Jacobson Construction, which was $100+ million a year company.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Dude,
it's
okay,
great.
so it is in your blood. Okay, so you obviously, I mean, for those of you out there, Trapper, where do they find you on Instagram?
At Roderick Builders, that's the easiest way on Instagram. I mean, we
Mhm.
have a small YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing some more shows like this, so I mean, I'm out there.
Yeah, you're going to
Uh,
have Utah growth on your
yeah,
YouTube channel.
if you type in Trapper Roderick, you're going to see a lot of silly images of me like modeling male suits and stuff like that. So I would stay away from my name, but Roderick Builders.
So, point being, guys, is you need to look up Trapper's Instagram because they're doing incredible work.
Thank
And
you.
that goes into my question of, okay, so your grandfather built $100 million plus a year commercial firm. You obviously, both your folks were in construction, and you chose residential.
Yeah, that's going to stem a lot from working with my dad, right?
Of
So
course.
my Roderick side is the residential. I framed a lot for my dad growing up.
Cool.
I helped run framing crews even like in high school. So like I knew what I was doing when it came to putting things together. And then, I mean, my dad was really young. I think my dad's like 53 years old. So like not a huge age gap right there, right?
Hmm.
So if I wanted to spend time with my dad, I had to go to work.
Hmm.
And so I was constantly around houses. He was a general contractor for residential homes, and he went out to Los Angeles in, I want to say, 99 or 2000, and
Dang.
started building like some big dog houses. Some of the names I could say, not supposed to say many of them, but yeah, I mean, we're talking celebrities, movie stars, athletes,
Yeah.
and just pure luck. A guy that was an architect, and they had like a building firm kind of that, but they didn't have like a qualifier. They
Hmm.
wanted him to come in and be that person for him. And then, he ended up eventually breaking off. So I got to be around these jobs and these homes that most people would never even dream of, like that might not even really even exist. You would only see them, on the Rich Housewives of Los Angeles or whatever it might be, right?
Right.
Selling sunset type houses. I mean, several of our homes have been featured in these type of publications, but never once has it ever mentioned, Roderick Builders.
Totally.
So yeah, we keep the businesses separate, but that is what really sparked me wanting to be in residential, because I got to see something that not many people get to see. I got to see the emotional side of
Hmm.
residential.
Hmm.
Most people, you go buy some track home from some builder and it's customized, right?
Hmm.
And it just check marks the boxes. It has 4 bedrooms and 4 baths, and it's got a movie room and a kitchen with a 10-foot island. All right, cool. You check marked all the boxes. But I like to be able to control essentially what somebody is somebody is feeling, from the moment that they walk in the door.
Love it.
I want to know where their eyes are going to go. I want to know the things that they're going to feel. I want to know if that wall is going to feel heavy on them. And you know, if it's going to appeal to women or if it's going to appeal to men. And so I just really loved the design aspect of residential, which is what led me down the architectural path. And like I said, that was not for me.
Dude, I love it. Okay, so that makes a ton of sense. And even with your dad, tapping into what's called like the ultra high net worth,
Yeah.
extreme luxury market, like that is incredible experience for a very young person, right? Just to
Oh,
see the potential.
oh my gosh. I mean, it's kind of hurt me in some ways, right?
Okay.
Because like
How?
I don't know how to build. Like if I wanted to go build myself a home today, like a modest home in Utah, which sadly is $1 million these days or slightly
Mhm.
more,
Mhm.
I don't think I could.
Just
I
because
don't
you're just so what do you build at, if you don't mind sharing?
a cost per foot.
Nah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really wide range, and it'll totally depend on like what neighborhood we're in.
Hmm.
But some of the listeners will know some of these neighborhoods. So like if we're building in like a Heber Valley, we're probably building anywhere from 450 on the low end,
Hmm.
to like maybe 600 on the high end in Heber. But
Okay.
then like 5 minutes up the street, if we're in like a Promontory or Toohey, we're probably building at like a 750 to 950.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it doesn't exceed that, but it's some of the requirements from the ARCs. It's some of the things that you would just do to fit in the neighborhood. You start getting into automations and things like that, right? So it's a wide range, but we don't have a problem being in kind of any of those categories. But if I was to go buy a house, I would need to be at 250, 350 a square foot.
Totally. Totally.
And
Well, go ahead.
yeah, it's not that I couldn't build it, right? Like, but I'm just tainted because like I know all the other cool things you can do.
Of course.
Like, of
Of
course, I'm
course.
gonna have shade pockets and automated shades and techie fun stuff and heated floors and just and seamless, stone across entire walls, because why wouldn't you?
Totally. Totally. Well, and I mean, you hear that. It's not uncommon to hear builders say, I couldn't buy what I build, right? Or I couldn't build for me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think that's like totally common. But in terms of just like your passion for design, like where do you think like the big opportunity is for builders to start looking at emphasizing design?
Well, I mean, let's just start with there's so much opportunity, but let's start with like the system that's broken. You and I have talked about this before, and all too often, a client, someone who wants to build a custom home, they
Hmm.
buy a piece of land. They know that they meet with a real estate agent, they buy the land, and then especially in this wealthier category, they're going to the architect first, and then the architect designs them a home that check marks all their boxes. It's
Hmm.
probably super amazing, right?
Hmm.
And then what do they do? Well, who should build it, right? Because more than often it's second homes here, so they don't necessarily know the market. So the architect sends it out to bid to 5, 10 builders that he knows.
Hmm.
Well, then at that point, it's just a bidding war, right?
Hmm.
Because all the numbers start coming back, and they're all way more than the client expected because they didn't involve a contractor from the beginning. And
Totally.
so at that point, quality, relationship, all that stuff, it goes out the window.
Hmm.
And that's a broken system because now they can't build the home they wanted that they thought they were just designing. And so they end up having to go with the lowest bid, which then that guy's not motivated to do a great job. He's pissed by the end. He didn't make enough money. He didn't market himself. Now the contractor doesn't have enough money to go and market themselves. And so they take the next best job when they come to the end of it. So let's fast forward to how can a builder being involved in design help?
Hmm.
If a builder meets the client first, they should be involved in that design process. If a client works with the architect first, they need to get so they don't design something that the client can't afford. They need to get a builder involved, which means that the builder just needs to understand design and not just say, "Oh, I'm going to build what's on the plans," because we're the ones on the job site every day. If
Right.
we, at least they should be on the job site every day, in my opinion. If you're on the job
Hmm.
site every day, you might notice something that you're like, "This just doesn't feel right."
Right.
And if you feel that, I believe it's your responsibility to let the architect and the client know.
Right. Okay. Well, I totally agree. I'm hearing a lot of this conversation, and even like so, I did an episode with Alex Mulkentine out of Lyons College
Mhm,
north of Boulder,
mhm.
doing really high end stuff. Very bullish on like pre construction and working
Yeah.
with trades and architects and design and interior, all that stuff in the front end.
Uh-huh.
Why is it's okay? It might be simple to understand from like the consumer's buying standpoint to start with the architect
Yeah.
and then get the design and then go into the builder. How do you
Mhm.
shift that? Like tactically, how do you start to get in front of the consumer as the builder and then introduce the architect so the architect and builder are together from the jump?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll tell you what I do. And by no means is my system perfect. It has plenty of things that need to be refined, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I have never in the Utah market had an architect bring me a job, which is really sad and depressing. I need to change that ASAP.
Sure. Okay.
Um, so I am meeting every single one of my clients first. So
Okay.
I make sure I am educating people like
Hmm.
that. I take time if somebody's looking at lots and I know a bunch of realtors and they want me to go walk lots with them, I'll take the time. Obviously that takes time and it should charge money, but you know what, like this is such an important life decision for them, and
Hmm.
I know the market. I'm the Utah homegrown boy, right? Like I
Hmm.
might as well spend some time with them, right?
Hmm.
Even if it's just to help and I don't end up getting the job ever. So I start there. I make sure real estate agents know who I am and how I'm going to take care of them.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not going to be paying their 3% fees, but I have a lot of creative ways to work with them where they can make money working with me.
Hmm.
And I make sure when we have open houses, all the agents are there. I like working with agents like you and I are working together now. Like there's not one agency that's better than the other. There's agents that are great, right? And so
Hmm.
I start there, and then I really educate myself on the neighborhoods, right? Like
Sure.
why this neighborhood is better than this one, or why this one's a better fit for this customer than that one, right? Because every customer has a different need in our market. They're just coming here. They think they want to ski and ski at home. And then they realize that there's so many other amazing things in Utah. And so it's just
Hmm.
my job to educate, you know?
Totally. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of like building strong relationships with agents and brokers.
Yeah.
And again, being like a true subject matter expert, arguably like more so than even the agents and brokers,
Yeah, a
right?
little bit.
Of like
Yeah.
the neighborhoods and like the product that's moving and like the different types of classes that are in there. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the agents, they see dollar signs, right? I mean, not every agent sees dollar signs. They see dollar signs, they see pretty houses, but they're not the ones that are studying the ARC review or have to, I mean, in understanding all the little teeny things that have to go in to designing those homes. And so
Mhm.
that's another thing. Just take the time, read the ARC review process for every single one of those high end neighborhoods, because
Yeah.
you might, if you did get a bid set of plans from an architect, you might not realize that, oh well, no foundations would be allowed to be exposed. That all that has to be covered in rock.
Hmm.
And maybe it wasn't on the plan, and now you're shorting yourself on your bid, right?
Right.
So take the time, understand them, because now you can be an expert and you can educate someone why this house that looks the same, this one's 450 and this one's 750.
Totally.
But you know,
Totally. Okay. So, and then even on the education point, and again, this is like all tying back into like the emphasis and importance of design, right?
mhm.
And it's like in terms of the individual. So when you say educate, you're obviously talking like walking lots, right? And like knowing your market extremely well. How else are you educating the consumer so much so that they're starting with you as opposed to an architect?
Mm, I mean, I definitely go to like networking events, right? Anytime I can go to a networking event,
What
it's
type of
just,
networking events?
I mean, it could be an alumni dinner for the University of Utah for like my fraternity I was in, right? So like it's not like my clients are going to be there, but now my peers, people that I respect and that they respect me, can see me as a market leader,
Hmm.
someone. I mean, contractors in general are the most stubborn people on the planet, right? And they're so
Of
stuck in.
course.
I'm not that way, right? Like, am I a stubborn person? Sure, but like I know that there's the way that I do it isn't the only way, and I
Right.
think generationally, so many times something new comes up and somebody doesn't want to change, and so I make sure people know that about me. I'm not perfect, but I'm going to try really, really hard to do something great. Social media, I mean, is a huge one. I mean, I think you've even seen I've tried to step up my game over
Hmm.
the last, so long, just to make sure people know that they can reach out to me and that I'm not just like only going to take someone on that wants to build this house right here.
Right.
Um, I'm just here to genuinely help.
Right. Well, and totally. And I think so. Hey, I love like just the networking standpoint. I would love to know just like, is there any concrete attribution that you could tie back to that networking effort? Right. Essentially just saying like, went to a fraternity alumni dinner and my buddies who are, I don't know, professionals in the area. Have you ever like won a job off of that like second, third degree network?
Kind of. There's some that are close for
Okay.
sure.
But they
Right.
influence the deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I had a call today, right? So this used to be the president of our fraternity. He's a definitely a mover and shaker in our market he's a real estate agent, right?
Hmm.
He called me today. He's like, dude, your content's been crushing it. I didn't know you were building this stuff. He's like, how come I didn't know this? He's like, well, we have this little thing where our agency like we want to promote 3 or 4 luxury home builders in every market. Like, can we meet? Can we come see your homes? Like, so like that was just an hour before you and I hopped on this call. Like that's gonna turn into something, hands down, right?
Totally.
There used to be this agent that was up in Promontory, and he's one of my favorite. I'm going to name drop Michael Swan, like, because he's so awesome. He was setting like every record in Promontory. I was like a kid. I was 18 when I think I first met him, right?
Yeah.
And so, but he would always invite me because he was never better than me, right? Like he treated me as a peer and an equal, even though I was so much younger. And um, he saw that I was eventually going to be somebody that was an industry leader in this market. And so he would invite me up to every single one of his open houses, right? Even though it was another builder and he was the agent, and I obviously had no money to buy a $9 million home, right?
Right.
But he would still invite me and I would go. Well, now to this day, he's brought me 3 deals that are probably going to be spec home deals where we partner with a landowner.
Love it.
Like that's great because I love that. Like I will always build custom homes,
Totally.
but spec homes that were custom homes that just happen to be for sale, like they are quality, pushing the limit type homes. I mean, that's my bread and butter.
Yeah, totally. Well, and so that's beautiful, right? So there's that long tail attribution, right? It's like, and it's kind of like similar to the sense in the real estate game of it's always like, it's just like sales in general, right? It's like, you're not always going to close everything on the front end, but you need to be front of mind when people are ready to pull the trigger, right? Like you need to be in their face, in their mind. Like what is like, I finally am getting ready to build a $9 million home. I remember looking at Roderick Builders product, right, on Instagram, or I remember my real estate agent talked about this at a dinner that we were at, something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and probably one of I think our biggest holdbacks on people is like they see how nice our stuff is, and so they obviously go, "Oh, they're too expensive for me." No, just call us. You know, like
Right.
we're not better than anybody, right? We know
Totally.
how to do it. Doesn't mean that we can't.
Totally. Well, and I think that's the like even to the social media side. I'm just gonna like plug the Contractor Coalition Summit because they do a lot on like social media and content and stuff like that. But I think the one comment that always resonates with me out of those conversations is that like the entire purpose of social media, to your point of almost like portraying this like bigger version than you actually are, or maybe like limiting to yourself to a more luxury market than you might like be doing.
Yeah.
The point of social media and investing in that is to obviously showcase your design, but for the consumer to feel like they already know you before they've ever met you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's really interesting you say that because, I've looked at just like my social media over the last 30 days. And anytime I put my face in front of it or talk, it's like 10 times the engagement, 10 times the shares, 10 times the saves.
Yep.
And people want someone that they can resonate with.
Exactly.
And so, going back to how can design, right, be good for builders to get engaged with? Builders should talk about the design. They should get on their social media. They should talk about why this architect pissed them off, and not that they're slandering the architect. Like, hey, this architect pushed the limits and it's frustrating because I don't know how to do it, or now I got to figure it out, and I'm gonna find a way to figure out how to do it. Right. So talk about the design, and it can educate people on making really smart decisions.
100%. But even again, to the point of like having the consumer of the content feel like they know you before they actually have met you, that it's not just like people building homes, right? That's architects, that's designers, that's people in the area. And if they know that they're working with a builder that is emphasizing design and recognizes the importance of, from a consumer's outcome standpoint, getting involved early, now you've got architects that are potentially seeing your content and they're like, hey, like, I know at the beginning of my sales process, I have a client that's wanting us to design a house. We think that you would be a great builder for this, or we want you to like get involved early. Like, how can we get this going? That's where you start to change the dynamic, right? Of just like the commonality. Because again, you think about the sales cycle for the consumer makes all the sense in the world. Consumer wants to build a house. What's step one? Design it, right? What do we want this to be? Who designs houses? Architect, right? And it's just natural for the consumer to think that building the house is the second step, because how in the world could you build something if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So shifting that nomenclature, that line of thinking is important. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're dead on. I mean, all of it. You're just absolutely dead on. And I just feel so bad for so many contractors out there. There's so many people who have poured their heart into being a great builder, building a great product, but they never learned the business side of it. And so like I'm so glad I did other businesses first.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not perfect, right? Like we have plenty of things that we have to figure out, but we work on the business every day along with building our custom homes, right? So I just hate seeing these guys that they've been doing it for 40 years and they really don't have anything to show for it. And so I think that's why these discussions, working with architects, working with clients, agents, it just matters so much so they can learn the other side of it and actually make what they deserve for what they risked, right?
100%. Making what you deserve for what you risked is important, but it's not always about, and I find this commonly with builders of like Mark Williams is a thing on this, to where he's like one of his first projects where he made like what he was actually supposed to be making, he felt like wrong for it. Right. It didn't set well with him because it was so much more than he'd ever made. But it was like the reality of it is like because of the risk and you ran your job right, like you made the money you should. That doesn't mean you have to take it all home. Right. Like
Well,
it doesn't make you a greedy person.
no, not at all. I mean, and you think about this too, right? Like if you make what you deserve for it, and a
Mm-hmm.
client calls you in 4 years from now and there's an issue,
Mm-hmm.
whether that issue is your fault or not, you can go help them and take care of it, right?
Totally.
Rather than be like, screw those guys, like I barely made a penny, right?
Totally.
You can be happy at the end of the job and be willing to spend a day with them on the lake
Totally.
and really love and take care of your customer. You can buy them a fancy gift at the end of building their home, like because you were also taken care of, and so you want to return that. And
Mm-hmm.
so any warranty stuff that comes up, or heck, you could even market along the way rather than just
Yes.
being grinding every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You can get another one of those jobs rather than be like, oh, now I got to go find the next shit.
Totally. Totally. And even more so on like the like the warranty side of things. And like, sure, like if you make what you're supposed to, if you made what you were supposed to and you go back and fix something, it's that much more comfortable. But even more so, you can start looking at it and taking the money that you made, recognize the issues that happened in the project that you could potentially forecast warranty work being on,
Yeah.
invest the money that you made into developing processes and hiring people to prevent that from happening in the future.
Yeah.
So now when it comes up, you're like, okay, we're good. And that's the profit side of things, right?
Yeah.
It's not about these builders and, oh, we're supposed to be making a 10% profit. I'm running a $15 million a year business. So I should be netting, $1.5 million. It's like, it's not like taking home and dumping it into a house. It's like
No.
looking at the business and it's like, shit, I can now focus on building the pipeline to hire the project manager or two that I need, or building out an org chart and hiring the estimator or getting the heart or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like the money should be going to your business, right? It shouldn't be going to you. I mean, should we make a comfortable living? Sure, we should, right? Like we work our asses off, and our families more than anything. I think contractors, families, subcontractors, general contractors, they do suffer. I mean, like I praise my wife for the support she gives me. Like I said, hey, sweetie, like on Friday this week, like I'm going all night. She's like,
Mm-hmm.
why? I'm like, well, because like we're coming to the end of the job and I want to make sure it's dialed in. I need to spend some time in the house and I need to like be almost live in it for a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can make sure it's perfect for the client when we turn it over in a week. And she's like, okay, like I get that, but that's a sacrifice to them. Right. And
Totally.
so, you know, I'm all about paying myself a salary. And if there's really big successes, cool. I get a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And if there are big failures, it doesn't mean that I get to pay myself less because I'm on a salary. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It just means that that bonus is not coming and that we got to tighten some things up for a while.
Totally. So do you actually, side note, do you actually live in the house for like a day or whatever before you turn it over? Because I think that's brilliant, by the
I
way.
mean, it's not like I'm actually sleeping. I'm working my ass off, right?
Of
Because there's
course.
usually something that like, there's always like that special touch thing
Mm-hmm.
that I'm just like, I should just do that myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on this particular house, it's nothing crazy, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to spend all night there,
Yeah.
just going through, checking the lights. Like I'm going to be walking around. I do it earlier on, like I check for squeaks and stuff like that. But like, hey, like now the house is finished, it's settled, it's heating differently. There's other elements, there's big giant chandeliers and stuff like that. So like, I want to find what issues we're going to have, right? Like because
Totally.
nothing worse than a week or two later when they moved in and you just have this massive list.
Totally. Yeah, it's like as a homeowner, like you like just finally get the keys, you move in, and you flip on a light switch, and you have no idea what the light switch does, and you're just like, dude, what the fuck is this? A dead light switch
Yeah,
or what?
well, and that's part of it. Like I mean, because every home takes time getting used to, right? Like unless you're doing like panelized lighting control,
Yeah.
you don't know what switch does what. And there's three in a row. Which one does which? I mean, heck,
Exactly.
even in my own house, I switched the one. I'm like, crap, other one.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through. We're just going to label it. It's not something that I need to spend a lot of time doing, but I want to do it. Zach, my partner, wants to do it, so we do it.
Yeah, totally. I love it. No, that's great. Okay, so you made a comment earlier that you guys work on the business regularly.
Yeah.
What is like your top of focus thing that you guys are working on now?
Well, social media is one.
Okay.
Which I think you've noticed.
Of course. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Okay. Number two is documenting certain processes, like down to a macro level. So, like, I could hire somebody for a small job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I asked myself this question last night. Imagine I had all the money in the world and I still wanted to do the business I do today, which I would.
Mm-hmm.
What would I instantly hand off to somebody that I'm doing myself? And that was a hard question to answer.
I love that. Okay. What'd you land on?
I don't have an answer for you right
Not
now.
yet. Okay.
I mean, there's things, right? Like, okay, cool. Like, I would do less of the social media posting myself. I would do less of the cost categorizations myself. I do less
Yeah.
estimating myself. But like, my estimating process is so much more complex than just handing it to an estimator, right? So I am going down to like the what are you doing to work on your business? I'm going through and working on line by line item workflows of what that estimator should do
Sure.
when I hire that estimator, right?
Totally.
But currently, how can I do it? Because it's such an important part. Some of the work we're doing right now is Aptiv stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because we've kind of changed a little bit of our systems. Build a Trend's a great partner of ours. We love Build a Trend, but
Yeah.
Adaptive. Sorry, I said Aptiv earlier. Adaptive.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, there's a guy who works for a company called Aptiv next door to me. So Adaptive. Adaptive has kind of changed a little bit of that. It's simplified it for us. I mean, it's made us way better, right? But it's still getting used to it and changing some of those processes that used to run through Buildertrain and now we're running through Adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just some things that I'm personally working on. I want to understand it before I hand it off to our accounting team.
Totally.
It's foolish for me to expect anyone to do anything that I don't at least understand.
100%. Well, and so it kind of sounds like you're in the era of just like, okay, you've obviously built a very solid business so far, but you're it's almost like you're preparing for like the next wave of growth. And I think it's important to be reflective and look into your business and say, where are the gaps? I now know how to do all these different things. How do I document this so that I can prepare and be successful with bringing someone in?
Yeah. So I used to teach this entrepreneurship and marketing class at the U, and I was like an adjunct professor for a while. And I would always say to like the people, like, you gotta be able to pivot. Right. Like, I mean, this was to the students that had already kind of had like businesses up and running. You have to be willing to pivot. And so I think Zach and I, we really like every 6 months, we kind of like throw away the whole business model, start over. Doesn't mean that we're not implementing parts of it again. Right. But we do that because then it makes us look at it with fresh eyes.
Sure.
Rather than just keep doing the same system over and over.
Right.
Maybe that system is now more advanced now.
Right.
And we don't need to do some of the things that we were doing. Maybe we need to do some of these things a little bit differently. So it's not that we're like throwing it away, but we kind of go at it with that mindset of constantly pivoting, because if you're not pivoting, you're not growing, and you're just stuck in your ways. And there's a quote. I actually have a video of it for my dad. I'll have to send it to you, but he says something like along the lines of, it's like, a great contractor is not always the one who just builds something. It's sometimes builds something great. It's sometimes how quickly they're making decisions and how quickly they're finding solutions to the problems. Right.
Totally.
And if you're not pivoting, you can't always do that.
Totally. If you're not pivoting, you can't find the successes and the failures that are going to impact the speed in which you can make the decision.
Yeah.
So, and I love that. So like in terms of like the pivoting side of things, right? And yeah, I mean, obviously you're being dramatic of like scrapping the whole business plan and like starting over.
Entirely.
Okay. Well, so tactically, like what, like when you say you're scrapping it, like what are you scrapping? And then like what are you doing? I understand the pivoting. I understand. Go ahead.
I'll give you an example, right? So like we used to have a lot of project managers, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted a project manager on every job site. Mm-hmm. And we would for the most part, one of us would visit every job site every day, but we would go meet with our project managers.
Hmm.
Well, we sat down, and just like we do about every 6 months, sometimes it's late at night when we happen to be on one of these late night job site,
Totally.
extravaganza. We kind of just talk about the shit that we're not happy with. And we decided that we weren't going to have any project managers anymore, which is kind of
Wait,
crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right?
no project manager. So you don't have project managers right now.
Nope. Zero.
You don't have a project. Who do you have? You got someone.
Well, I have a partner, right? So
Yes.
him and I co-project manage. I'm doing more of the office side
Hmm.
and the business growth,
Yeah.
and he's on site every day, and I'm on site like every 2 days, right, or every other day, right? And
How
and,
many
and
homes are you building?
we only build like 5 or 6 at a time, right? We could
Okay.
build, we could handle up to 10, right? But it's not crazy, and we always make sure that we're like, okay, we're not going to be taking jobs down in the valley anymore. We're
Yeah.
only going to build in Wasatch and Summit County, so we can get to all of our jobs within 15 minutes. That was a pretty major scrap,
Totally.
but it's a core belief of ours that one of the principles of our company should be on site every day. And I will tell you, it makes a massive difference in our fit and finish
Mhm.
versus the next guy who's building at the same price point. You can walk in one $10 million home and the other, and you can see a difference.
Totally. So okay. So is the intention to? And of course you guys will pivot, but like, is
Yeah.
the intention right now or like immediately for to have a principal on the job so then you can start to better think and articulate what the Roderick Builder product looks like, so then you can process it, build it, and then manage someone to step in so you can scale? Or
Yeah.
what's the thinking?
Eventually someone will step in. Yes. But just like how I was like maybe going down like what that estimator should do every day,
Hmm.
Zach is going through what should that project manager do every day, right?
Lovely.
And to such a deeper degree than what you would ever learn in construction management school, right?
Hmm.
Like how are you treating it like it's your baby? And even then, like we still will always make sure one of our principals is on site every day. There's just it's just foolish. Like if you're at risk for that much money,
Hmm.
whether they're spec homes or custom homes, and you're selling these clients that you're going to love their home just like they did when it's the largest investment of their entire life, we owe it to them to be on site every day.
Totally. Well, and even when you talk about like finishing out the home as a principal, right? Is like
Mhm.
you can just tell the quality and the difference in it. Being so design forward, like that's the stuff that's important. And
Yeah.
the only way that you can get an employee, someone who is not like an owner of the business, to care to that level is to
Mhm.
set the expectation with them and have that expectation be clean and aligned on, and they know
Mhm.
exactly what that means. Because just
Yeah.
because Trapper, or is it Zach is your partner?
Yeah. Exactly.
Either Zat or Trapper, like they're it's not like what they're doing is novel, right? It's not like
Yeah.
what you guys are doing is like impossible to train or like set
No,
expectations around for someone
no,
else.
it's not. And and right now we're a little bit busier than normal. And so, and my dad just finished that house actually, and so he's out here in Utah doing some other jobs on his own. But he's also acting as one of our principals on site
Yeah.
when Zach or I can't be there, right? And
Yeah.
he's now carrying that forward because. And I kind of got that a lot from my dad because he was always like the one man show, had a very small team, but yet he was building $100 million homes. But
Right.
he literally was on site every day, all
Dude,
day.
that's
It
insane.
ran his business from there, but he was only ever doing one or two homes at a time.
Of
So
course.
it worked for him. But I saw what a difference it makes when he builds these, and so I'm like, we have to have something like that, right?
Totally. Totally.
And so he helps us with it.
One thing that I see, and we can wrap this thread up, but one thing that I see when there's like it goes from like principal, I'll call it principal led project management,
Hmm.
to like staff or employee led project management, is if you're not extremely tight and process oriented and set insane expectations and have like a level of accountability and buy-in from the team, what you essentially build as a home builder is a bunch of mini businesses within one bigger business.
Hmm.
And you're getting a huge spread and difference on like the quality of product and how it's being done. One project manager is like essentially like full autonomy on the project. They're running things the way that they would if they don't have expectations and processes and ways that they need to be doing things. You start getting all this like this spin and this difference, and then it's kind of hard to like label it as the business's product because like the business was so far removed and the expectation wasn't set.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think a lot of people, look at like Brad Levitt, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he's killing it because of his social media. No, no, the guy, anybody, doesn't matter the level of business that you've built. Like they should be striving to have a business that operates the same as his does, right? Like he has built a team that truly works together, whether that be a project manager or a social media person or a director of construction. They talk and communicate together, where so many contracting businesses, the project manager does his job and doesn't talk to anybody else. The accounting does their job and doesn't talk to anybody else. That's not how this business
Doesn't
works.
work.
How
Doesn't
any
work.
business, they need each other
Yep.
to be efficient, right?
Totally.
If a credit card's swiped, the accountant needs to know what was it swiped for.
Totally.
I mean, you have to have that communication, or there are just massive failures.
1000%. And I think that's where, even like design was kind of the topic or theme here. Is the design is well, correct me if you think this is wrong, but the design or the finished product is just the outcome of all of that alignment and communication, while design is typically viewed and looked at as like a front end conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my opinion, I think design should be involved in every decision,
Right.
um, from the beginning to the end. But at the same time, the finances also need to align, which is why from the very beginning, the architect, the client, and the builder all need to be together, because that is a team effort to make sure that the architect understands how it can be built, and the accounting and who's paying for it all aligns, right? I mean, it all ties together. It
Totally.
just doesn't work without each other.
100%. Okay. So we'll wrap the episode up with, and you can take a second, but what would you leave the listeners with that is like the most important thing that they need to emphasize or they should focus on, knowing that they're all going to be in different stages of business? What's the most important thing they should be thinking about?
Invest in yourself.
Okay. Explain.
Absolutely. I mean, every single day, I think we all have high aspirations when we wake up of like what we can accomplish in that day. And the likelihood, like if you're a highly motivated individual like I am, like you're not going to get all that stuff done. But never stop believing in yourself, because one day one of those tasks will become easier. One of those hurdles might become one of the biggest blessings in your business. And so many people work and work and work and grind and grind, and then they retire, and they've worked so hard and they've saved their money, but now they're all too old and too frail to actually enjoy life. So believe in yourself, enjoy your life as you go about it. Like if there's a builder coalition, I don't have time for that, I got this job. No, make time for it, because it's fun too, and you'll learn something. If
Totally.
there's someone invites you on a ski trip, like try to make time for it. Like there's so much beauty in the world, and there's so much going on, and you never know what could come from it. So like don't be reckless, but like believe in yourself. Like everything can be an opportunity, and everything can be a learning opportunity, and we're capable of way more than what people think.
I love it. 100%. Trapper Roderick, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Builders, Budgets, and Beers. I appreciate you, dude.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, and miss you. Hope to see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Don't worry about that.